શરૂઆત બાયસેકમાં માઇક્રોબાયોલોજીના લેક્ચરની કરીએ છીએ. ગયા વર્ષે લગભગ 32-33 લેક્ચર જે આપણે માઇક્રોબાયોલોજીના લીધા એ ઘણા સારા રહ્યા હતા અને આ સાલ પણ આપણે એવી જ રીતે એ જ પ્રથા મુજબ સારા લેક્ચર્સ ડિલિવર કરવાની પ્રથા પરંપરા ચાલુ રાખીએ છીએ. This year we are beginning with a topic on genetics, that is bacterial plasmids, and for that particular topic મારી સાથે સ્ટુડિયોમાં સ્મૃતિબેન પંડ્યા જે આરજી શાહ સાયન્સ કોલેજમાંથી છે, મારી જ કોલેજમાંથી છે. અમે બંને બેક્ટેરિયલ પ્લાઝમિડ વિશે ડિસ્કસ કરીશું અને એના વિશે આપને જણાવવા પ્રયત્ન કરીશું. આ એક જેનેટિક્સનો ટૉપિક છે કે જે ખૂબ મહત્ત્વનો છે, કારણ કે પ્લાઝમિડ્સ એ બેક્ટેરિયલ ક્રોમોઝોમ કરતાં પણ વધારે અથવા તો એના જેટલું જ મહત્ત્વ ધરાવે છે. To start with, the very basic question is, what is plasmids? શું છે plasmid? So a plasmid is basically nothing else but a extra chromosomal small self-replicating double-stranded DNA molecule carrying a few useful but non-essential genes. Now if we see this definition in detail, then we can consider that plasmid is not basically a part of chromosome. It is something which is extra chromosomal. That means it is located in the cell, but it is not along with the chromosome. It is not in the chromosome. It is not part of the chromosome. It is something, a double-stranded DNA structure which is in addition to the chromosome. Secondly, it is a small in the sense that it carries very few genes. If you see the photograph, then you can see here that this is a host chromosome, means it is a bacterial chromosome, and in the same cell you can see 4 circles. These are the plasmids. They are very small as compared to the host chromosome. The host chromosome is several times larger than this plasmid DNA. Now this is an electron micrograph of E. coli which shows the plasmids along with the host chromosomes. Here there are few plasmids and this is a host chromosome in total. The host chromosome is very small. It contains few base pairs as compared to the bacterial chromosome is a very large. Plasmid is very small and it contains almost 1/5 or 1/50th the size of the host chromosome. If you can see here, then you will find that the DNA molecule of the host genome, it codes for almost 4,300 genes in E. coli. While plasmids, they have a few genes, and the number of genes in a plasmid may vary from say 5 to 50 or sometimes little bit more. Now there are certain aspects which are to be discussed along with these points. Second one, which is a very important one, is a self-replicating nature of the plasmids. As I have told you that it is an extra chromosomal part of the system, that is the cell. It occurs outside the chromosome. However, it has got a machinery to carry out its own replication. It means it is a autonomous in nature. They have got their own replicating machinery. They have got their own sites of replication, origin of replication. Now, if we see where these plasmids are found, then you will read here that these are the prokaryotic organisms which contains these plasmids. However, plasmids have been found to occur in few eukaryotic cells also. Say for example, Entamoeba histolytica and 2 micrometer plasmids of yeast. Both these organisms are eukaryote. However, the occurrence of plasmid in eukaryote is comparatively low as compared to that of our prokaryotic organisms, that is bacteria. Now, size we have already discussed, and then let us come to numbers. The number of plasmids in a cell, that is number of plasmids per cells, it may range from 1 to more than 100. In few cases, it may be as high as 1000 also. Now this number of plasmids, how many number of plasmids are there, how many plasmids can sustain in a cell, can remain in a cell, that is basically controlled by the initiation frequency. What is that initiation frequency? That we will discuss at a later stage. The same thing is shown in a table, that the number of plasmids, as I have told you, may vary from 1 to more than 100. For example, the F plasmid in E. coli, it is usually 1, while that of PUC plasmids in the same organism can range up to 100. There are certain plasmids like PIJ101 whose number may go as much as 40 to 300. Now, as I just discussed about the plasmid numbers, how many plasmids are there? As I have told you, it can range from 1 to hundreds. But can these plasmids be of the same type, or they will be belonging to of a different class or different groups or different types? That we can call it as a plasmid incompatibility. So accordingly, we can group them into 2 categories: compatible plasmids, and the another one is incompatible plasmids. Now, compatible means those which can stand each other, that is, those which can live together in the same cell. Now, this is possible because these plasmids have a different mechanisms of control and replication, which is independent of each other. It means plasmid X and plasmid Y, they both have different mechanisms of replication, different controls, and they can replicate independently of each other. Therefore, these plasmids, they do not interfere with each other's replicating mechanisms, and therefore it can sustain or coexist in the same cell. While in contrast to this compatible plasmids, we have another one, that is incompatible plasmids, that is they cannot stand each other in the sense that these plasmids, 2 different plasmids, X and X, or X or Y, if they have similar mechanisms of control, then the proteins and other enzymes, they interfere or they compete with sites of one plasmid with the another. As a result, what happens is, whenever the cell separates, when the cell replicates, that is partitioning of the plasmids takes place into the daughter cells, at that time there is a possibility of loss of one of the plasmids. This is also called as a curing of plasmid. There are other inducible methods or other ways by which plasmids can be cured that we will take up at a later stage. Now, on the basis of these incompatibility groups, the plasmids have been classified into several categories. Incompatible groups ranges from F1, F2, F3, then there are I, J and N, while there are certain plasmids. For example, in F1 incompatibility group, the plasmid F and R386, these plasmids, they cannot coexist together. That is, these two plasmids, they cannot live together. Similarly, in F3 groups, there are plasmids like Col BK99, Col BK166. These plasmids, they are not able to coexist together. Now, next is a term, that is episomes. Now, what are episomes? Episomes are a kind of plasmids or even a viral DNA which are able to either exist freely, that is independently, replicating itself, or they are able to integrate into the host chromosome, that is, they are able to integrate into the bacterial chromosomes and replicate along with these bacterial chromosomes. We are discussing bacterial plasmids, and therefore we will not discuss about more in detail about viral DNA. Otherwise, viral DNA like lambda phage, that phage DNA can integrate with the host chromosome and can consequently multiply. But here we are more concentrating ourselves to plasmids of bacteria, and therefore we will discuss these points in detail. Now, these episomes, they exist almost in all bacterial cells wherever the plasmids are there. They have the ability, most of the plasmids, they have the ability to integrate with the host chromosomes. The most popular or the prominent example is the F factor, that is the fertility factor of E. coli, which can integrate with the host chromosome, and consequently it is termed as HFR. HFR stands for high frequency recombination. Now, why it is known as a high frequency recombination, that we will tell you at a later stages. Now, the term that I just told you, that is episomes, this is not at present widely used, or it is no longer commonly used for these plasmids. The reason is, it is now known that a transposons, it is something which is similar to a plasmid, which contains mobile genetic elements or jumping genes, which is making a plasmid into a episome. Transposons are, or insertion sequences, they have got plasmids, have got insertion sequences, IS, which we call them in short, which are able to integrate with the host chromosomes. Now, these plasmids, as I have told you, they are small circular extra chromosomal elements. That is, their nature is DNA, and these DNA in plasmids can exist in one of the 5 conformations. How these plasmids, in what shape and structures they exist in the bacterial cells? The first one is nicked open circular DNA. It means it is a double-stranded DNA in which there is a nick, that is a cut at one strand of the DNA. The another one is the relay circular DNA. It means it is totally intact. Both the ends, they are not cut, they are intact, they are uncut, but certain enzymes, they make them relax, that is the supercoilings are removed, and therefore there is no tension or a stress in the molecule. So that is known as a relaxed circular DNA. The third one is the linear DNA, which have got both the free ends. It is not a circular one, and that is why it is known as a linear DNA. And the another two are supercoiled, that is the DNA is fully intact with both the strands uncut, and there are certain twists and turns. This leads to its compact form in the cell. That is why it is known as a supercoiled DNA. And the last one is supercoiled denatured DNA. It is similar to the supercoiled DNA, but due to certain reasons, for example, excessive alkalinity during the plasmid preparation, plasmid isolation, the DNA is slightly denatured, and that is why it is known as a supercoil but denatured DNA. So these are some of the conformations of plasmids in the cell. Now replication of the bacterial plasmids will be explained to you in detail by Smriti ma'am.
Dear friends, like a chromosomal DNA of a bacteria, plasmids are also having their own replicon. That is the place from replication of plasmid starts. We have seen that there are different conformation of the plasmids and they are having different modes of the replication. The first one, let us talk about the theta model of the replication. What happens that at the origin of the replication or ORI-V, the two strands get separated as shown in the figure, and these two strands from where the replication will start in both the direction, resulting finally into the production of two separate plasmid molecules. And as a result, mostly this kind of replication is found in a plasmid which are present into the cell. If we see the next type of the replication, then here you can see that in the previous one there was no cut in the DNA. Here there is an excision or a cut in a DNA producing 3' end, and finally the nucleotides are added and the replication takes place in a one direction only. So this is known as a rolling circle model. Plasmid are having a certain host specificity also. Some plasmid are having a narrow host range. That means they can be remain present in a few groups of bacteria only. As for example, CoE1 plasmid or PBr 322 etc. They are limited to E. coli only and the species which are closely related to E. coli. They cannot be found to be present in a distantly related species like bacilli. Some other plasmids are having a broad host range, and these plasmid can be transferred from one cell to another and then can remain into many groups of microorganisms. They can replicate there and they show broad host range. As it has been discussed earlier, the loss of a plasmid from the host cell, it is known as a curing of plasmid. This can take place itself or it can be induced. The process which is known as elimination is known as a curing, and many treatments can be given to the cell for the curing of plasmid. As for example, acridine mutagens like acridine orange. Plasmids like vacuole plasmid, they can be removed very fast as compared to other plasmid. Other agents like UV light, ionizing radiation, thymine starvation, treatment with the heavy metals, growth above optimal temperature, these are also used for the curing of plasmid. As a result, when the cell multiplies slowly, these plasmids are lost from the bacterial population. Now let us see different types of the plasmids which are classified using the certain criteria. The first one is their ability to transfer from one cell to another cell, and such type of plasmids are known as a conjugative plasmids. As it has been discussed earlier, F plasmid, that is also kind of a conjugative plasmid. Certain R plasmid, they are also conjugative which can transfer themselves from one cell to another. Means they are having certain genes, TRA genes, that can help them or that can make them possible to get transfer from one cell to another one. Others are non-conjugative plasmids which cannot get transfer from one cell to another without help of any conjugative plasmid. The third category are having only a small subset of genes, and such plasmids which are known as a mobilizable plasmid, they get paratized on another plasmid and transfer with them with a high frequency. Now, second classification is the based on the function or the phenotypic characters that are offered by the plasmid to the bacterial cell when they are present inside. The first one is the fertility plasmid, which has capacity to carry out the conjugation, as for example F plasmids. Another category of the plasmids are the R plasmids, which provides resistance to certain antibiotics or heavy metals to the bacterial cell. Some are col plasmid. They produce a type of bacteriocin known as a colicin, which are helping into the antagonistic interaction. Third category are degradative plasmid that produces or help cell to produce certain enzyme which are capable of degrading certain recalcitrant compounds and hydrocarbons. And the last category are virulence plasmid that confers pathogenicity to the organism. All these plasmids we will discuss in a detail later on. During the separation and isolation of plasmids, certain plasmids have been detected which were not having any phenotypic characteristic. That means they do not have genes which can provide any function to the bacterial cell. Only the genes present are required for the replication and spread. As discussed earlier, transposons, they are certain genetic element known as a jumping gene, because they can get integrated into the bacterial chromosome and they can also remain present as a separate independent genes. The first, they were discovered in a maize by Barbara, and thereafter many transposons have been found to be present in a different bacterial cells also. As I told you that they can get integrated into chromosome sequence because they are having a insertion sequences which are complement to that of bacterial chromosome sequence, and so they can make a recombination there. They are responsible many times to cause many different types of mutations. The next modern plasmid will be discussed by Professor Rakesh Patel.
The next title to be discussed is modern cloning plasmids. હવે આ modern cloning plasmids શું છે? How does it differ from the plasmids? Basically modern cloning plasmids એટલે કે અત્યારના plasmids જે artificially બનાયેલા છે. These are not naturally occurring plasmids. It means these are not found naturally into organisms. બેક્ટેરિયાની અંદર ડાયરેક્ટલી જોવા નથી મળતા. આ બધા artificially constructed plasmids છે. For example, the first and the most popular one which is used at present in genetic engineering technology is PBR322. આમાં તમે જોશો કે P જે છે it stands for plasmid. આનું nomenclature, plasmidનું nomenclature હંમેશા આ રીતે થયું આવ્યું છે કે P stands for plasmids, and then there are certain words or numbers, letters or numbers. For example, in this case, P is for plasmid, B for Boyer, and R for Rodrigues. એટલે બોયર અને રોડ્રિગ્સ નામના સાયન્ટિસ્ટ જે હતા અને નંબર આપ્યો છે 322. આ નંબરનો પ્લાઝમિડ એમણે સૌથી પહેલાં લેબોરેટરીની અંદર બનાવ્યો, જેને આપણે કહીએ છીએ આર્ટિફિશિયલ પ્લાઝમિડ. કેમ આર્ટિફિશિયલ કહીએ છીએ? કારણ કે આ જે આખો પ્લાઝમિડ બન્યો છે એ ઓરિજિનલી 3 નેચરલ પ્લાઝમિડ્સના કોમ્બિનેશન છે. એમાંથી જે ડિઝાયરેબલ જીન્સ હતા, those genes which were required by the scientist, those genes which were of interest, they have been separated from the natural plasmids and they have been cut and brought together and ligated, means joined કર્યા છે એમને. For example, સૌથી પહેલાં R6 પ્લાઝમિડ હતો જે નેચરલ, એમાંથી સ્ટેનલી અને કોહન નામના સાયન્ટિસ્ટે પ્લાઝમિડ PSC101 બનાવ્યો, અને એમાંથી એક ટેટ્રાસાઇક્લિન રેઝિસ્ટન્સનો જીન લઈ અને PBRમાં ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ એ ટુકડો લઈ અને આમાં જોઈન કર્યો. બીજો એક ટુકડો એમ્પિસિલિન રેઝિસ્ટન્સનો જે હતો એ ટ્રાન્સપોઝોન TN3માંથી લીધો હતો, અને એક ત્રીજો ટુકડો જેમાં ઓરિજિનની સાઇટ હતી એ ઓરિજિનલી આવ્યો હતો કોલ ઇવન પ્લાઝમિડમાંથી, જેને મોડિફાઈ કર્યો હતો PMB9માં, અને પછી એમાંથી એ જે લેવામાં આવ્યો એ ઓરિજિન, ORI સ્ટેન્ડ્સ ફોર ઓરિજિન. સો these kinds of plasmids, આ પ્રકારના જે પ્લાઝમિડ્સ છે એને આપણે કહીશું મોડર્ન ક્લોનિંગ પ્લાઝમિડ્સ. આ પ્લાઝમિડ્સ નેચરલી જોવા નથી મળતા. they are constructed in the laboratory, used in the laboratory for genetic engineering technology. હવે let us discuss the important plasmids, few important plasmids. For example, સૌથી પહેલો જે પ્લાઝમિડ શોધાયો અને જે સૌથી વધારે સ્ટડી થયો છે that is F fertility plasmid. In this diagram you can see the genetic map of E. coli. Genetic map means પ્લાઝમિડ્સનો જે સર્ક્યુલર પીસ છે એમાં જુદા જુદા જીન્સનું લોકેશન્સ કઈ જગ્યા પર આવ્યું છે, વેર ધીઝ જીન્સ આર સિચ્યુએટેડ, દેટ ઇઝ ડિપિક્ટેડ ઇન ધીસ ફિગર. એ આ ડાયાગ્રામમાં બતાવેલું છે. ફોર એક્ઝામ્પલ, આ આખો જે પાર્ટ છે દેટ ઇઝ TRA રિજિયન, ટ્રા રિજિયન. એની નીચે જે છે અહીંયા ORI-T સાઇટ છે. આ જે છે TN1000 IS3 ઇન્સર્શન સિક્વન્સ 3, ઇન્સર્શન સિક્વન્સ 2, IS3 બીજો અહીંયા પણ પાસ છે. ટોટલી આની જે લેન્થ છે દેટ ઇઝ 99 kbps, 99,000 બેઝ પેર્સ. હવે આ જે આખા પ્લાઝમિડ્સ છે એના જુદા જુદા લોકેશન્સ ઉપર કયા કયા જીન આવ્યા છે અને એના શું ફંક્શન્સ છે. ફોર એક્ઝામ્પલ, ORI-T એ જીન છે દેટ ઇઝ બેઝિકલી labeled as a ORI-T. It is known as the origin of transfer. It is the starting point for conjugative transfer. જ્યારે પ્લાઝમિડ બીજા સેલની અંદર ટ્રાન્સફર થાય છે ત્યારે આ જગ્યા ઉપરથી શરૂઆત થશે ટ્રાન્સફરની. ORI મીન્સ ઓરિજિન ઓફ રિપ્લિકેશન. પ્લાઝમિડનું પોતાનું રિપ્લિકેશન એ જ સેલમાં જ્યારે થવાનું હોય છે હોસ્ટ સેલની અંદર, એટ ધેટ ટાઈમ it starts or it begins the replication from this particular point. Then that is why it is known as the origin of replication. Then TRA region, TRA region, transfer genes. These locations, TRA region જે છે એની અંદર જીન્સ આવેલા છે which codes for certain proteins which makes F pilus and is responsible for DNA transfers. Then we have IS, insertion elements, insertion sequences. These are basically selfish genes or sequence fragments which can integrate with different locations in the host chromosomes, which helps these plasmids to form an episome or to undergo a conversion which we earlier discussed it as a episome. Now, for example, જ્યારે F પ્લાઝમિડનું આપણે ડિસ્કશન કરીએ છીએ ડિટેલમાં ત્યારે આપણે આ ડાયાગ્રામ જોઈએ કે F પ્લાઝમિડ કેન રિમેઇન ઇન અ સેલ ઇન ડિફરન્ટ સ્ટેટ. જુદી જુદી સ્થિતિમાં જુદા જુદા પ્રકારની રીતે F પ્લાઝમિડ જ સેલની અંદર રહી શકે છે. F પ્લસ મીન્સ જે સેલ્સની અંદર F પ્લાઝમિડ છે, those cells which contains F plasmid, they are labeled as a F plus. જે સેલ્સની અંદર નથી, that is known as a F minus. They are basically recipient. They will receive this. They have the potential to receive the F plasmid from the donor cells which possesses F factor. Then we have HFR. Plasmids which can undergo integration with the host chromosomes, we call them as episomes, and this episomal state of F plasmid is known as the HFR, high frequency recombination. And F prime. Sometimes this HFR again disintegrates and the original piece of plasmid comes out. However, in some cases, during the excision, there might occur certain mistakes as a result of which the plasmid picks up a little bit or leaves its own portion and picks up a little portion of the host chromosome. For example, the location which is lying nearby to its attachment. For example, lactose or galactose gene. So this kind of plasmid which now possesses a gene of the host is known as a F prime. Now, what is the effect of these kinds of transfer? Now, as I have told you, the cells which possesses F plasmid, F stands for a fertility. It is known as a male cell. It has got the ability to donate this F plasmid to the F minus cell which doesn't contain the F factor. F factor, which is not present in a cell, is a recipient cell. It is a female cell, and whenever interactions occur between these two, that is F plus into F minus, what happens is usually the F minus cells becomes F plus. While in case of HFR and F minus, F plus is transferred along with the host chromosome. While in case of F prime and F minus, the F minus cells becomes usually F plus, but also a little chromosome of the host is also transferred into F minus. Now, this is how the transfer actually takes place during conjugation. As you can see, these two cells, these are the chromosomes, and the red one is the plasmid, F factor. Now, this is a F plus cell, this is a F minus cell, and due to this fertility factor, this cell has an ability to synthesize a pili, which we call it as a sex pili. This sex pili forms a bridge with the recipient cell, and then this sex pili is retracted. As a result, the cells comes close to each other, and then the transfer begins. There is a nick or a cut made at one of the strands of the DNA, and this plasmid, one strand of the plasmid, enters into recipient cell. Consequently, the recipient cell starts also duplicating that strand. As a result, at the end of the process, the F minus cell also possesses the entire plasmid and it becomes a F plus cell. This is a transfer of F factor during conjugation. This is how the formation of HFR takes place. This is a host chromosome in green, the plasmid F factor in red. They both integrate, and now the F factor has become a part of the host chromosome. So this is known as a HFR cell. Why it is known as a HFR cell? Because this cell, when it is mating with the F minus cell, due to the ability of a plasmid to transfer itself into the F minus cells, and since the plasmid is now in an integrated state with the host chromosome, the frequency of transfer of the host genes increases, and that is why the formation of recombinant cells will also increase. Thus, the term HFR, high frequency recombinants. This is how the diagram indicates that the host chromosomes, the genes present on the host chromosomes, they are transferred into recipient cell. Now, the last one, again the third one, that is the formation of F prime. See here, the F factor is an integrated state with the host chromosome, and the host chromosomes, here there is a loci which is known as a gene which is known as a lac gene. Now, during the detachment, it may happen that plasmids wants to detach, and normally in most of the cases detachment is so perfect that the entire piece of the plasmid comes out without any portion left behind. But in few cases there might be some mistake. As a result, it picks up the portion of the host chromosome. See, this is the lac gene which has been picked up by the plasmid. As a result, now this plasmid contains lac gene. This is known as a F prime. Now, when such cells meet with the F minus cells, what happens is that plasmids will be transferred, and along with the plasmids, this lac gene will also be transferred into the recipient cell. And if the recipient cell is lac negative, Because this lactose gene has passed into it, it again becomes lact positive. Next comes the R plasmids. These R plasmids will be discussed in detail by Smriti ma'am.
Now the plasmids which are having resistant factor, that is the resistant to certain antibiotics or poisons or heavy metals, they are termed as a R plasmids. R plasmids, when they are present into the bacterial cell, it makes the bacterial cell resistant to antibiotics. The reason is there that they provide certain functions to the bacteria so that they can produce enzymes which can degrade the resistant plasmids. They can degrade the antibiotics and they destroy the antibiotic, and cell can remain or can survive into that environment. There are different types of R plasmid that carries different kinds of antibiotics resistant genes. The history, if we can see that in late 1950s, it was found that a strain of Shigella, which is responsible for causing shigellosis or bacterial dysentery, that became epidemic, and it was found that these acquired the resistance to many different antibiotics, which includes the sulfonamides, streptomycin, tetracycline, chloramphenicol, and many other drugs. As a result, it was become difficult to treat shigellosis. These plasmids are very dangerous because they have tendency of horizontal transfer. They can transfer, as for example, from E. coli to Pseudomonas, from Pseudomonas to Shigella or any other bacteria, and they can replicate there. So the cell which could be the pathogenic in a nature, which has a capacity to cause a disease which is a dangerous to the human being, may become resistant to resistant to antibiotic. So treatment of such disease becomes very difficult. Many times the different plasmids contains more than one type of resistance, and you can see that such plasmids are known as a multiple drug resistant plasmids. As for example, it has been shown that the plasmid resistant to ampicillin drug and plasmid resistant to kanamycin can coexist in a single plasmid producing a multiple drug resistant. So a single bacterium can become resistant to more than one kind of antibiotics. The next type of plasmids which provide a particular characteristic to the cell, that they make the cell pathogenic in a nature, they are known as a virulence plasmid. Such plasmid can include one of the very good example, TI plasmid, which are responsible for producing gallbladder in a leguminous plants or dicotyledonous plants. The second type of plasmids are enteric plasmids, which can produce both the types of toxins, that is a heat labile and heat stable toxins, which are poisonous to the host cell. Third type of plasmid which causes the production of hemolysins, and they carry out the lysis of red blood cells, and thus they provide pathogenicity to the organism which they possess. And one more kind of plasmid which are known as the K plasmids, that produce a specific antigens mainly in the E. coli, and such antigens are present on the cell surface. Very interesting and important are TI plasmids. These TI plasmids are produced by the organism Agrobacterium tumefaciens, which is responsible for the causing gallbladder, as we have seen in the previous slide. As you can see here that these plasmid contain T region. This plasmid can get transferred and integrated into plant cell. In addition to that, there are certain oncogenic genes like opine, synthesizing, cytokinin synthesizing, and certain other plasmid which can produce auxins required as a nitrogen source to Agrobacterium tumefaciens. If you can remove these plasmids, then plasmid with the tDNA that remains, and it is a very good vector for the introduction of any foreign gene into the plant cell, and this can help the plant cell to produce you can produce a transgenic plant having a desirable characteristics that we'll see later on. Certain plasmids are catabolic plasmids. These plasmids make the cell capable to produce many different types of enzymes, and as a result, if plasmid is present, these cells can degrade many recalcitrant compounds which may include organic compounds, petroleum hydrocarbons, lignin, and halogenated pesticides which may cause the environmental pollutions. Many plasmids are there which can be named on the name of the compound they are capable of degradation. As for example, we can see here, if plasmid can produce enzyme that degrade camphor, it is known as a chem plasmid. So here, by making a recombinant cell, you can generate a superbacterium that can be utilized to reduce the environmental pollution that can degrade many recalcitrant compounds. Some of the examples are here, like Rhodoscoccus species, which is used to degrade the PCBs, that is a polychlorinated biphenyls, Pseudomonas putida, well known for the degradation of many hydrocarbon and recalcitrant compounds, and others are also there. This is a very interesting phenomenon that the cell will try to maintain plasmid in a certain cases, means they will not allow the curing of plasmid. The reason is there that they contain certain plasmid having suicide gene which will kill the cell. The example is a HOC system, that is a host killing and suppressor of killing system. HOC plasmid is a present in a PAR-B locus of the plasmid R1. If it is expressed, it is producing a polypeptide that disturb the function of the plasma membrane or a cell membrane of the cell, and cell will die. The another gene on another DNA strand is there, which is known as a SOC gene suppressor gene that can block this function of a HOC gene by producing a complementary RNA. This complementary RNA, that is a SOC RNA, they will bind with the HOC RNA, make a double strand, so that the translation of HOC RNA will not take place and cell will be protected. But unfortunately, the SOC DNA is having a shorter half-life. So if the plasmid is not present, gradually this DNA messenger RNA gets degraded, and in the absence of SOC messenger RNA, HOC messenger RNA is translated, producing the protein that will kill the cell. So as a result, only the plasmid which are having this gene, they will survive. Only plasmids are present, then and cell can remain viable, otherwise it will be killed. That's why these plasmids are maintained by the cells.
Okay, now let us discuss about the applications of the plasmids. આ પ્લાઝમિડ્સનો ઇમ્પોર્ટન્સ શું છે સેલમાં નેચરલ કન્ડિશન્સમાં તો જોવા મળે છે, પણ હાઉ ધીઝ પ્લાઝમિડ્સ હેવ certain economic value or some nuisance value. For example, first one, the use of plasmids in genetic engineering. As I have told you that genetic engineering techniques requires certain vectors, and these vectors needs to be small in size. પ્રમાણમાં નાના હોવા જોઈએ, જેમ નાના હોય તેમ સારા, કારણ કે એ બહારના જે રિક્વાયર્ડ જીન્સ છે એ એની સાથે એટેચ કરી શકીએ અને હોસ્ટની અંદર પાછા મોકલી શકીએ. સો દેટ plasmids are one of the most important types of vectors because they are small in size. Apart from that, these plasmids, they have the origin of replications. These plasmids have got the ability to integrate with the host chromosomes. Because of these two, certain plasmids which are very popular, that includes PBR plasmids. As we have seen, these plasmids have been artificially been synthesized, and some cosmids. Cosmids are nothing else but they are the combinations of phage plasmids, which are artificial hybrid and genetically engineered to incorporate large molecules of DNA, which helps in construction of genomic library. Then these plasmids are also used for genetic mapping of the bacterial gene, and that is done by interrupted mating experiments through conjugation. In biotechnology, they are very useful because they are the cheap and the easy way of mass production of large amount of proteins and other pharmaceutical products. They may be used, for example, for some unethical processes like biological warfare. These are used in industrial biotechnology, agriculture biotechnology, as well as in industrial biotechnology. Apart from that, the plasmids are also having a nuisance value in the sense that they are carrying a drug resistance genes, and this is a burning problem in clinical microbiology. So these are some of the importance that the plasmids have. Now, we would be very happy if you have any questions, and we would like to reply if you have any doubts. Okay. If it is that, finally, we would like to acknowledge the Joint Director of Education, the Commissioner's Office of Higher Education, Government of Gujarat. We will also like to express our thanks to Professor Kamal Joshi, the State Coordinator of Sandan, as well as the staff members of Biotech Studio, who have always been cooperative and excellent telecasting these live lectures. Finally, we are also thankful to our colleagues at our department who have helped us in preparation of these lectures. Thank you very much.
Thank you.